So, welcome back to Hyaku Shiki 96, your favourite billionaire philanthropist. So, I recently went on a trip to Leeds to have a look around, and I managed to get some good stuff from a couple of CEXs, so I want to take you along for the ride. So, the setup to this is I had a very limited budget. As you will have seen in previous videos, when I upgraded my setup, I decided that I was going to sort of stay away from spending money for quite a while. And I haven't really broken that with this. I had some spare piece of electronic equipment that I didn't use anymore, and I traded it into CEX for a £22 voucher. So I have a very, very limited budget. But I still think that CEX and Leeds is some of the best places that you can hunt. They've got 3 different in the areas. I ended up going to 2 of those, so we're going to take a look and see what we can find. Let's go. Okay, so first up we had CEX in Leeds itself. I mean, honestly, this one never fails to disappoint me. There's always plenty of things that I'm looking for, and it was no different today. I wish I had 10 times the budget and I still would have found that difficult. There's always some cool stuff there, and I think that's really nice. It's a great city to shop in, I think, as well. Just when it comes to that CEX, they've always got strong showings in rarities, but also I feel like they've got a good quantity of certain items. One of the problems I think can just be the shop is a little bit packed. Quite often it's very popular with people coming in and out, so it can be sometimes a little crowded. And I guess as well, sometimes some of the items aren't perhaps as clean as I would like, but I think because there's so many of them, you're able to find better condition ones usually looking around. I really like the amount of anime Blu-rays they have as well. They've always got quite a large amount of those in selection. I've not included them in this video, but it's something worth noting as well. But the main point is, I feel like there's always something cool there, whether that's some collector's editions in the outside window that they show off, or some of the rarer games in the actual glass cabinets, as well as quite a lot of sort of variety in many different consoles. They've got quite a large DS and 3DS section, and that's definitely great as well. Also, as you will have heard if you've seen other videos, like for example when I talked about collecting in Liverpool, I like 2-floor CEXs, and this is also a second floor one as well. So you can go down into that second floor and you get to look at a bit more of the DVDs, Blu-rays, PSP, anime sort of DVDs, and I think as well you get PS2, Wii U, things like that. I'd definitely say that the top floor is where it's at, but the second floor, checking out the PSP and the PS2 for me is always worth going to take a look at. I always find that generally the second floor is quite empty and the top floor is quite busy. My main point really though is I feel like in terms of what a CEX does, everything is, I feel like, quite well spaced out and displayed, and there's always good items, so I don't really know too much what else I could elaborate on this fact, but I have to say it's definitely worth a visit there. Okay, but with that out of the way, normally I'd show you my pickups, but I want to show you my pickups at the end, so stay tuned for that. Obviously with the limited budget, I don't have as many items that I picked up today, but before we think about all of that, let's go to the next CEX, which is CEX Leeds White Row. see, Leeds White Rose is quite a good, I sort of guess, in a shopping centre kind of CEX. There's a good amount of space and depth to the shop, and I really like how they've got the games at the front, so it feels easy, accessible, straight from the get-go. You can see pretty much what you're looking for. One of the things I've always found interesting is they usually have stacks of unsorted games on one of the counters every time I go there, so they must be quite busy in terms of those trade-ins. I think what you will find though is just kind of like Leeds, I don't think there's an issue when it comes to a lot of these rare quality titles. Again, you will find some sort of high ticket items coming in and out of this Leeds shop as well. I know there were quite a few whilst I was there, and I was kicking myself in the teeth. I mean, this is one of those ones that's crazy, but I can say within a span of one day, within just simply a few hours, I saw 2 complete copies of Armored Core Last Raven. That's strange, in both Leeds CEX. Now, I don't fancy selling off one of my kidneys, so I didn't pick one up. I'm joking, of course, you know, I'm a billionaire philanthropist, money's nothing to me, but I still think that was crazy. And then also to have another Armored Core PS2 game, which is 9 Break there, really cool. I honestly wish I had more budget because I want to pick up 9 Break at one point, but of course, I have no need to fret. It is not a game that I won't see again. I've seen it before. It's rare, but nothing's rare enough, especially when you have eBay. Anyway, jokes aside, really impressed again by the rarity selection. I feel like, again, there definitely could be some, I think, improvement in perhaps sort of like the PS2 section. There was definitely a lot of quantity, but not necessarily quality. But I think that's not necessarily an uncommon issue at this point, especially for somebody like me who's collected for the PS2 for quite a lot of years now. But ultimately, I don't really need to nitpick, do I? You can kind of see the footage for itself. It's honestly, yet again impressed me. And I feel like, accounting for the amount of times that I've been to these shops as well, there's definitely enough variance of good stock that comes in and out of these shops that if you were visiting Leeds just to visit some CEXs, I think it's worth it. Between that and the fact that I didn't even visit one of them because I didn't have time on this video, to have 3 in quite close proximity, you're honestly going to be spoilt for choice. There's always going to be something that you probably find there. And for me, I mean, that makes it well worth of a trip. So if you're in the area, I definitely recommend it. But with that out of the way, let's talk about the pickups. So I've only got 2 today, so I'm going to go in order of, I would say, the least to the most expensive. These are both relatively low price value items. As you know, my budget was £22 on that voucher. So the first item we have is the Order 1886. Now, the Order 1886 is a game that I remember coming out, and it was kind of criticised at the time. I think people felt like it perhaps didn't have enough substance and it was more style than substance. There's some variation of that, right? I've always thought it looked interesting, and so I feel like for £10 you can't really go wrong with it. I mean, sure, if you don't like it, you can, but you get what I'm trying to get at. I think that it's going to be quite a fun experience. I like the cinematic nature and the style of it, and I think there aren't too many games that feel the same as this. So I've always wanted to give it a go, and so for £10, I'm quite excited to do so. I think it's one that I'm going to put quite high up on the backlog, to be honest. And of course, if you're interested in seeing how I find it later on, please let me know. But what I'll say is it's a great, fantastic quality title with high production values, and it represents an interesting point in Sony's history in the early PlayStation 4 era. So let's take a look at the final game, and this one's going to be interesting for everyone who saw my last haul, because I'm continuing on and I've got the last game I needed in this series, and that is Valkyria Chronicles 4. So Valkyria Chronicles 4 is a continuation in that critically acclaimed RPG series, where you basically kind of play a tactical but not quite turn-based, kind of turn-based combat. They're great games. I mean, one of the issues that I have with this series is the third was never published. On my last haul video, you'll have seen I got the second one on the PlayStation Portable, so I've got number 1 on the PS3, PlayStation Portable number 2, Valkyrie Revolution on the PS4, and now I've got this on the Switch. You're probably thinking, why didn't I get it on the PS4? I kind of originally intended to. I really do kind of prefer having a series on the same console, but I think what's more important than that is thinking about how you'd prefer to play it. Especially with the arrival of the Switch 2 Game Boost mode, I kind of feel like there's not really a reason for me not to get the Switch version. I prefer playing RPGs on the Switch. That portability and flexibility kind of gives me more of an ease of stopping and starting, especially with the pause and resume. I don't mind sort of like pausing and resuming my Switch, but my PlayStation 5, obviously it draws a lot more power and it's plugged in, so I tend to prefer turning it off. I think that's just sort of a bit better, at least for me anyway, in terms of saving that extra little bit of money. But when it comes to these big RPG games that are, you know, 50 plus hours or thereabouts anyway, I really prefer playing them on the Switch. And it's a great game that I'm looking forward to. So whilst it kind of bothers me a little bit, I don't think it actually bothers me. It's just kind of like one of those things where I suppose it's your collector urge to get everything to be on the same platform, but it doesn't really matter. What matters is actually the game. And for me, the Switch is the ideal form to play that game. And I'm honestly quite excited. Valkyrie Chronicles, again, so glad to cross that off the list. That was one of the big series that I've been hunting down recently. So I'm glad that on 2 hunts back to back, I found the last 2 that I was looking for. Now, Valkyrie Chronicles 4 isn't super rare. I don't think it's like very common. I'd say it's kind of slightly uncommon or like an irregular game that you see. But it's definitely worth picking up for anyone who's interested there. I hope you found it interesting thinking about my thoughts about the CEXs and also just talking about the hauls in general. I really do love going and taking a look and traveling and doing these things. So again, please let me know if you want to see more of this. I feel like I've managed to learn a little bit more about how to format these videos, but of course I'm still open to any tips because I am quite new to this kind of style particularly. So you know, please feel free to put down anything you'd recommend or you think would make it more interesting in the comments. Otherwise, I'm very grateful that you've taken the time again to watch this, and for those of you who are interested and would like to hear perhaps more about looking at Leeds in the same kind of style as my Liverpool video, whether it's worth to collect, please let me know, and then the next time I'm there I can show you some of the other shops as well, because there are some really cool places to shop over there in Leeds. But yeah, ultimately, as a billionaire philanthropist, I have billionaire philanthropist related things to do. I'm not going to invent an excuse this time because this is some top secret stuff that people can't hear about, you know? Yeah. So with that, that's definitely real. I have to go. So of course, I'll catch you in the next one.